has to have a moral. Otherwise, what is it all about?
Power is inflicting pain and humiliation. Power is tearing human minds apart and putting them together again in new shapes of your own choosing.
Power is not a means, it's an end.
Welcome to Crime Think. Welcome to Crime Think. Welcome.
Thank you very much for listening to our wonderful podcast. This is Crime Think. My name is Rick Smith, and with me, as always, is Bill Clay. But today we have an interesting show. We have count them, 2 guests for our show. The first is going by the nom de plume Malik Shabazz. Or actually, that's actually his legal name. Just kidding.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yes, you sound like a Malik Shabazz, by the way.
Absolutely.
And then we also have Mr. Dolph Lundgren, a.k.a. Dolph. Yes. Anyway, so we have a really, really great show. We're going to be talking about something, today is the 28th of December. A couple of days ago, there was a big thing. You may have heard about it in the news. There was this massive explosion at the corner of Antioch and something else in downtown Nashville, and it shut down communications for AT&T users within the Tennessee and a multi-state area. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different conspiracy theories related to that. Or are they conspiracy theories? Are they conspiracy theories, Bill?
Well, I think it all kind of, you asked a good question the other day when we were talking about this idea as a show. It was actually Dolph's idea. I hadn't really even followed the news on this, and Dolph piped up and said, I can run game on like every major narrative coming out of Nashville.
Kudos to Dolph on that, by the way.
Yeah. Dolph had the right level of skepticism, which was 100% off of the story on this. And, you look into, when you see the stuff in the news, you're like, oh, whatever, crazy person does crazy thing, nothing to see here. And, and Rick, you brought up the other day, it's like, well, maybe these are just crazy people doing crazy things. And we are the crazy people because we're projecting conspiracy theories onto this stuff. And I think the difference is that the way to have a little bit of skepticism on your skepticism, say like, does this story even make any remote sense, right? I mean, do people drive RVs to blow up AT&T buildings ever, right, on Christmas Day, and then put warnings over the AV system to like, please get away from my terrorist event. Please don't hurt yourself, citizen. It's just, the whole story seems bullshit.
The fire for you. The big one for you. The big one for you.
And so I think, not everything's a conspiracy theory. The system's not so powerful that every little thing is controlled, but there's a bunch of weird shit about this story that just doesn't add up. Doesn't make any sense.
So, I approach this from a slightly different perspective. I'm normally in the camp of a quote unquote conspiracy theorist in general. Mm-hmm. However, to be honest, there are a lot of aspects of this which make me pause to think, hey, maybe we're wrong. But the two biggest pieces of information which lead me into the opposite direction, into thinking that this is actually a conspiracy, and let's define our terms. What I mean by conspiracy is just simply that
websites, newsletters, self-published manifestos, they think we're kooks. I mean, George Bush knew what he was saying when he said New World Order. Remember those three little words, New World Order? Well, he was a 33rd degree Mason, and as ex-director of the CIA. He knew that saying that was sends conspirologists everywhere spinning their wheels, and they destroy their own credibility. Don't get me wrong, sister. I'm sure your heart's in the right place, okay? But You know, somebody's got to lift the scab, the festering scab.
The
that
official
is
narrative is not what actually happened.
The shipwreck
Okay,
is the
it isn't
so they can
remotely
track
what
down
actually
exactly
happened.
where he's at.
And the two biggest pieces of evidence are this. First off, over the holidays, I actually drove through the Nashville area. And while for about 3 hours driving through sort of the Tennessee region, I did not have any internet access. Okay, supposedly I had cell phone access. I did not try to use my phone, but I did try to use the internet, and I was totally blocked from using the internet. And then once I got through Tennessee, it magically turned back on. Now I say this because then after Christmas, I was coming back, and during the same exact geographic area, exactly the same. Not only did I not have internet access, but now I didn't have phone access either. Okay, and it was very, very pronounced. And this is the same thing for my wife. You know, we're on the same plan, so this wasn't just like my phone. So that's point number one. The other point is, and we can talk about this more in a second, but I just want to get this out of the way right now. The biggest evidence I think is hole number two, right? There's this blast hole in the ground in the sidewalk in front of the building, which it defies any capability that I'm aware of for a blast coming from across the street from an RV vehicle to perpendicularly attack the
Okay,
earth.
well, before we get
And
into those
anyway, so
details,
be that
let's
as
just
it
go
may.
through the basic story so far, right? The basic story was there's an RV at like 6:30 in the morning in downtown Nashville. It blows up.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, yeah, Christmas Day blows up. Now, thankfully, not many people are hurt because it's really early in the morning, and because for some reason the RV did like a 15-minute countdown warning people to evacuate buildings and get the fuck out of there. Right? No one is hurt. Three people are kind of like
Mhm.
shooken up a little bit. One cop like has a hearing loss, but for the most part, no one is hurt in the explosion.
Well, and by the way, so there were six, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hero cops. That's important, I think, because there were 6 hero cops who went door to door to alert people and to try to clear the area.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
that'll
So
become more important
there's
later on.
there's a ton of property damage. One building collapses, and there's the photos are all from the exact same position. They're looking down the street. It's a tree-lined boulevard. There's a bunch of trees missing, and there was some of the photos have a car on fire. Some of them have the cars are completely burned out. It just looks like basically a black charring. Then a day later, the FAA declares a 1 mile exclusion zone around the spot. The FBI cordons off a several block radius around the spot. In a television newscopter, I heard somebody say that what the FBI didn't plan on is the fact that these fucking helicopters can see a mouse from on Mars. And so they zoomed in, and we got a lot better detail of the actual site than we had gotten in any of the news photos. The news photos didn't really show shit, but the overhead showed, I think, several important things. One is the facility, the AT&T facility that the RV was parked next to and blew up against, was not a real building at all. It was one of these telecom centers, and it was a facade, and it was a brick. It's basically a huge 30-story brick box, a cement box. The second weird thing is there are holes on the second floor that are unexplained, and it looks like there's an explosion that came from inside the building and went out. There's smoke damage on the building that go in directions that don't make any sense for an RV bomb. And then there are also holes on the ground uh, that just make no logical sense
Yeah,
for
they,
how.
they blow out, not blow in. If
Right,
if there was an RV explosion.
right. And the media photos don't show this at all. And then the other piece of evidence that we need to mention here from the very start is that there were some people who released video immediately after who happened to be up at 6:30, or they were security cam footage. And in one of them, you can see what looks like a missile trace um, right before the explosion.
Yes, and that's a black and white picture. It can't be
Right.
visible with a standard digital picture, which is very interesting.
Right.
Are you talking about the piece of video that was like from the highway and you could see it from over a few buildings from far
Yes.
away?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was interesting.
So there are definitely things that just don't add up. Right now, the video, the missile streak, some people are saying, well, that's just electronic noise. It's like, well, it's pretty fucking suspicious timing to have electronic noise in your video at exactly that moment.
Well,
Um,
and I mean, and frankly, like again, not to be a one-trick pony, to paraphrase President-elect Joe Biden, but
Don't
the
say that.
are you triggered?
No, I'm fine because I know what's going to happen, so it's all good.
Hey, more
Nice.
power to you. I hope you're right. But look, I mean, like the hole in the ground. It's the hole in the ground, the hole in the ground, the hole in the ground. There's no fucking way that there is an RV parked across the street and it blows out a hole in the ground, okay, across the fucking street. I'm sorry. Like the only thing that makes sense, it would be. I mean, well, let's put it this way: a cruise missile shooting into the ground would make a hell of a lot more sense than a fucking RV across the street.
But what's really interesting, though,
direct energy weapon would make more sense.
I don't know what is that.
Direct like an ion cannon.
Yeah, you ever seen Real Genius back in the day?
No,
dude, with Valley Kilmers.
Oh my god! I mean, like 25 years ago, yes.
Yeah, when they shoot that satellite down and they make popcorn in Homeboy's house. Nobody? Right. I'm older than all y'all. I forget.
Sorry.
Same principle though. Yeah, they just shoot. You know, they got high intensity crazy
like
lasers.
Are you talking about like a rail gun?
No, I'm talking about basically like a. This is all speculation, obviously. Basically like a microwave gun, or something even more hardcore than that. Basically shooting a lightsaber from the sky.
Yeah, exactly. It's a beam of energy. It's
Malik.
like rods from God, but instead of massive metal.
All right. I mean, like
rods. There's energy.
All right. Look, I mean, like that. We're getting further and further from like believability.
Well, but let's step back for a second. If we were to believe the photos that the media showed us, you would say, "Oh, there's nothing to see here. There was an explosion. There was an RV. Nothing to see here." It's only because we have these helicopter overheads that you can start to see that, like, wait a minute, there's no way that this RV did what they say it did. And then the other thing is, the RV is completely missing. There are no parts to the RV that are in the street.
And to talk about the RV for a second, an individual on Twitter spent some time and looked at the Google images or I guess Google Map images of the gentleman, Anthony Werner's home, and the RV.
Hold on one second. So let's lay the foundation here for what you're getting into. The FBI, in kind of predictable fashion, immediately comes out with their prime suspect. And the prime suspect is an evil conspiracy theorist who lives on the outskirts of Nashville. And he believes in these crazy right-wing conspiracies like the 5G conspiracy. And hey, in Google Maps, you can see that he had an RV parked in his lawn. So what does the FBI do? Well, they courageously go over to his house. They block off the entire street. They raid his house. They get every bit of details. And then, surprise, surprise, they prove that he was the sole bomber. Just like Lee Harvey Oswald and Stephen Paddock, the bad guy killed himself. He's dead. Nothing to worry about, citizens.
Well, wait a minute. Lee Harvey Oswald was killed by Jack Ruby.
True. But he's
Ted Cruz's dad.
The lone gunman. But the lone gunman.
Well done, young Padawan.
The lone gunman is dead. Nothing to worry about here, folks. So glad your FBI is on the case. So, but then, as Malik is pointing out, there are problems with their purported lone gunman. So, keep going.
Exactly. So the RV that is seen on closed circuit television at the scene of the crime or the scene of the explosion has two pinstripes on top, as well as a white vent that is used if you were to cook, etc. in this RV. While the one located outside of his home, Mr. Anthony Warner's home, on Google Images has a black vent and only one pinstripe along the RV. And what is also interesting is that it
Uh-oh,
looks,
FBI fucked up.
yeah, well, that and like the ladders on the other side of the vehicle. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's totally different.
Well,
Well,
and
wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Nashville,
Like,
the Nashville police released the still from the video of the RV driving down the street. And the other thing that's notable is there's nobody driving the RV.
Yeah, it's empty.
Like,
Or they doctored it, the picture, so the real suspect's image would not be out there.
right. Right, but you can see that there's nobody sitting in the driver's seat driving the
Yeah,
RV.
you can see the headrest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the other things, there's tons of, I guess I'm the resident super conspiracy guy, so there's a ton of other little things.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who the resident conspiracy guy is. You might have to fight for that title there, Dolph.
Well, let Dolph tell his let Dolph tell his facts. What do you got?
So some people are saying that around that area in Nashville, they have what are called smart light poles that have speakers, and the police use them for microphone, gunshot detecting microphones and stuff like that. So some people have been reporting that the warning was coming out of those.
Oh.
Now, I don't know if that's the case. The cops initially said, the one cop at the press conference said it was coming from the RV, but that's just an interesting anomaly as well. Who knows what the hell's going on with that?
And then one thing that Dolph brought up earlier this week is that the recording, when you play it backwards, has a very interesting secret message.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you play it backwards.
Bullshit.
I mean, who's got recording equipment right now? Let's talk into it. It's like the thing with Barack Obama. Yes, we can. If you play it in reverse, it says "Thank you, Satan." It's 100%. You can go do it right now. I've done it. So I mean, I guess we could test it.
Really?
But
You've done it?
Yeah, I've done it. It's very easy to do. I mean, there's software.
Yeah, you just download Audacity and hit reverse, and bam, you have it.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Thank you, Satan. Thank you, Satan. Thank you, Satan. Thank you, Satan.
And it sounds like "Thank you, Satan."
Blew your mind.
It sounds like "Thank you, Satan."
Yeah.
It does. So anyway, if you backward mask okay, so like I was saying, if you backward mask the warning that was coming out of either the RV or the street lamps there, at one portion it does say Merry Christmas. So very polite, very festive terrorists. I want you to know, I don't want you to be hurt. I want you to have a Merry Christmas. But we're bombing this fucking building. I don't know. Something's weird. I mean, it doesn't compute, and then where does your mind go there? So you hate to say it, but we're the people who did this white hats. They didn't want anybody to be hurt. Clearly.
Well, and I think there's some, it's tough to get into motive because we don't have any of the facts, right? We have all these little pieces of the facts that the best that we can tell, I think, with some confidence is that the official narrative doesn't make sense.
No.
And one thing that we can use to tell that, I think, is the crazy overreaction by the feds, right? There's no fatalities. There's a couple $1 million in property damage, and the feds literally sealed off all of downtown Nashville. The city of Nashville institutes a curfew for everyone for several days. There are hundreds of FBI agents that are publicly reported to be on the ground. I think the number I heard or I read was 500 FBI agents that show up basically the day after in order to do something. Like if this was an open and shut case of one random 5G terrorist blowing up his RV in a few local retail shops, the scale of the response from the feds is just over the top.
Right. It's almost like somebody left a noose in a NASCAR garage.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you, Satan. Thank you, Satan.
How deep does the rabbit hole go, Rick?
I don't know, but I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Barack Hussein Obama is a fucking Satanist. He was fucking a man. Put it that way.
So, have any of you looked into Anthony Quinn Warner at all?
I looked in a little.
He looks like Eddie Money.
What I find interesting is that, of course, he was unmarried. He didn't have any close friends.
Yeah.
He didn't have any relatives. Like, it makes sense that the feds would use him as a body man or whatever. He's a perfect, potential suspect.
I'm just a patsy.
Exactly.
But what I find even more interesting is that his father actually worked at the AT&T building downtown.
I didn't know that.
Years and years and years. And apparently he signed over more than $1 million worth of real estate to a 29-year-old single mother who lives in California.
Was it $1 million? I thought it was like, I thought it was like maybe like 400,000 or 500,000.
One was worth 409,000. Another one was worth 250,000, and a third property was worth 160,000.
That's ridiculous. She must have given good head.
How dare you?
And the feds are trying to spin this. The feds are trying to spin this by saying that, he was angry at 5G because his dad developed dementia, and he blamed the father worked for Bell South, but they were like, well, AT&T rebought Bell South a few years ago after the baby bells were broken up in the 80s. So therefore, that's why he was angry at AT&T. Like, it was really stretched logic to try and get him to create some motive for him to blow up the building.
I wonder if the 29-year-old woman has a very similar voice to the female voice that gave out the warning for the RV.
Could be. And then the other thing, too, is you remember Stephen Paddock had several weird financial transfers a month before his death as well.
Yeah, with a chick,
right? It was some Filipino
lady.
Bitch.
Yeah, it was the Filipino woman who was on again, off again living with him. Because she fled with the money, and the feds had to promise her that she wouldn't be prosecuted and that she'd be allowed to keep it if she would come back and testify. So
they let her keep the money?
Yeah, I think so.
Not a bad deal.
No, not at all.
Come back and follow our bullshit story, and we'll pay you.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, hey, we won't prosecute you if you agree to tell this bullshit story.
Right.
But the feds have kind of a common standard operating procedure now when it comes to these incidents, these happenings. They need a lone gunman. They need like a sexually frustrated lone gunman with some like weirdo personal story. Um, and he has to
Sort
like
of like
die right away.
it couldn't be like any one of us on the call here.
Well, the problem is that we're not loners in our 50s,
Right.
right?
Not yet. We aren't.
Yet.
Yeah, but Paddock didn't have any kids.
Who sues their mother?
Paddock didn't have any relationships, so he was estranged basically from all of his family members, and was never married. There's a definite profile of who gets set up for these things, and I think along with the Paddock shooting in Vegas, the FBI kind of famously, I know you all know this, but just for the benefit of our two viewers, the FBI said they couldn't even discern a
It's like
motive.
three. It's like 3 or 4. Thank you.
The FBI claimed that after a year of having all of Paddock's information, they couldn't even figure out a motive for the shooting. But they figured out this guy's motive in less than 24 hours because, hey, his dad worked for Bell South and developed dementia, so clearly that's it.
Well, we all know what the Vegas thing was, right?
Please share.
Well, of course, conspiracy guy, tinfoil hat. Well, who owns the top floors of the Mandalay Bay?
The Saudis.
Exactly. Who was at that concert?
I don't know who.
The Saudi prince, the one that just took over. Wait, which I always get them mixed up. There's Ben Talal and Alaweed, right? Who's the bad guy? I forget.
Yeah, they're all bad guys.
I know, but who's the one that's in there now? Who's the one that got fucked up after Vegas? Alaweed, right? The one that funded Obama?
Sure.
See, you got to help me out with this. Anyway, long story short, it was an assassination attempt, supposedly, on the new incoming Saudi prince. He was at the concert.
Oh.
And I was told that by a dude who worked at Google, who
really
who left Google because he was he saw their their bullshit.
Right.
So he's very well known, actually.
I knew that the Saudis own the upper floors at I think it's the Four Seasons, right? And I knew there was a bunch of weird movements on the floors of the casinos that kind of were unexplained, of security guys moving people out. But I'd never actually heard that theory before, and I did a little bit of research into it, and that's the only theory I've ever heard that makes any amount of sense.
Yeah, supposedly, I guess it's Ben Talal. Forgive me with the names. But yeah, he was supposedly at that concert, and the guy that worked at Google told me, they were censoring data streams of it, and that it even supposedly he saw reports coming in that there was even a firefight at the airport after that.
Wow.
But yeah, this is completely
which explains the shooting sprees that occurred all across the city.
Right, that's right, because they had the oil tanks had bullet nicks on them, and it never made any sense because like if Paddock had any sense about him, he would have known that firing from that distance and that range, and the fact that those things are double holed anyway, there was no way it was going to get through. So if there was a firefight
unless
at the
he
airport,
had black tip.
What?
Unless he had black tip armor piercing rounds.
Right.
Which, I mean, this guy had, $100,000 worth of equipment in his hotel room or some crazy amount.
Right. Yeah, and there's no footage of him bringing it in. What do you know? in a Vegas hotel, there's no footage.
Right.
Go figure.
Gosh, that's the first thing that's ever made sense about that whole thing. Thanks, Dolph.
Yeah, no worries. I guess I could say his name. He's out there.
Maybe better that you don't. It's. I think
better not.
Yeah.
I mean, dude's got a podcast at this point, so
yeah.
But
But
people
so,
figure it out.
What are the potential motives for the Nashville bombing? And the first one that comes to mind, I think, is similar to the big switch that's in New York City, which the NSA calls Titan Point.
I've seen that building too. It's creepy as hell. And if the building in Nashville was built like that one, kiss my ass, a little truck bomb did anything to it.
Right.
Because I've been up close to that building and no fucking way.
Right. Right. And Dolph, you and I actually ran across one in another state capital.
Oh, right. You're right.
That's right.
Built like a brick shithouse, those places.
Yeah. Yeah. So these things are conspicuously in the downtowns of many major cities and major state capitals. And there's obviously the public thing that's going on there, which are the network switches and the telecom devices that they have there. But our surveillance state is obviously coexisting with those facilities, and they're often on site, right? The Titan Point facility, the NSA facility in New York, is within an AT&T facility and in that building.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that's reported knowledge.
Right. That's not even controversial to say that.
Right.
So is it a stretch to think that there was similar servers, surveillance state shenanigans going on at this facility in Nashville? Probably so. What other motives have you guys heard?
Well, you got the there's let's get into it. What's the guy's middle initial? There's a reporter skulking around the QAnon research boards on 8chan trying to get people to say he was a member, quote member, which there's no such thing. So I think it's a false flag, and to try to smear the not just necessarily the QAnon movement, but the overall awakening of regular people who after coronavirus and watching the election attempt to be stolen, so blatantly, so just in your face, like, fuck yeah, we cheated. What the fuck are you going to do about it? Right. It's bubbling under the surface, and anything they can do to smear what is happening out there, that's what this is,
And what I find interesting is that recently, as you probably all know, SolarWinds, which is a major cybersecurity firm located here in the United States, had a massive data breach. Some of its customers included the Department of the Treasury. There was a few other Fortune 500 companies, and of course, Dominion Voting Systems, who used a lot of SolarWinds software for cybersecurity reasons. And what's interesting is that their servers are actually located at this AT&T center. And 2 days ago they had a hack, this massive data breach, and maybe they're cleaning up any possible information that was a result or a cause or any evidence of how that happened. Especially being that the CEO and the corporate board of the entire company basically sold all of their stock 2 days before the breach was public.
Right.
So that's another possible scenario.
And then it could all just be a distraction from the printing house that burned down in New York that supposedly printed a whole shit ton of ballots. Anybody hear anything about that?
No, please share.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. Nobody fucking heard about it because we're all talking about Nashville. I can look it up real fast, but yeah, it was a printing place in New York burned to the ground, and supposedly they printed ballots.
And something that Malik said that forgotten fact in all of this that even we forgot is that witnesses described hearing gunshots before the RV showed up.
Right.
Yes, that's the interesting part. That's what brought those 6 cops there. It was multiple gunshots. Right. It wasn't the RV. It wasn't the recording.
Right. Yeah, the cops show up, and then RV shows up, clears the scene out for 15 minutes, which is frankly more time than you need. I mean, if you're going to be like a really charitable terrorist, that seems like a lot of time, right?
Right.
Why not give people 5 minutes or 3 minutes, right? Like, hey, get your ass moving, Skippy. Get out of here.
Yeah, and if you don't make it, big deal, because I don't care because I'm a terrorist.
Right. But what if 15 minutes gives a team of people who are there a lot of time to clean up some loose ends.
Yeah, man, or you have it. You got, it could be white hats, it could be the bad guys, it could be both. It could be the RV was there because they knew something was about to go down, and the good guys wanted to clear shit out because they weren't able to stop what was about to happen.
Right.
I mean, it could be anything. We don't know at this point. All I know is I don't believe a fucking word that's coming out of the media's mouth about it, or the FBI's.
Yeah, and I mean, go ahead, Bill.
Oh, just real quick that in the news, they actually on Google Maps you could see what the exclusion zone was, and I went down there, and the exclusion zone was about double what it showed up on Google Maps, and I saw them building it out further. And so they were blocking people off 5 blocks away from the incident. And there are very tall buildings in downtown Nashville. There was no way you were going to be able to see anything. And so the idea that this was just a property damage and a crazy guy about 5G, that's just not the case. And sometimes a thing by how other things around it act. And the way the government's acting here is maximum suspicious. I mean, honestly, I think I mentioned it to you guys at the time. I mean, it felt like a military operation down there. I've shown up to several of these events, the day after, and I've never seen as much security and as much, even after 9/11. There wasn't this level of insanity on the scene as there was there. So
Yeah,
What I find interesting, talking about the white hats and black hats, and I mean, it kind of fits this narrative that there are, possibly
There are no white hats. Go ahead.
There are no white hats. Okay. But I mean, it kind of fits this narrative that there might be a possibility of government factions fighting. We've seen newspaper reports of things going on in Germany where servers were seized by special forces, and there was a shootout with CIA agents, as well as the governor of Georgia's daughter's boyfriend just dying in a car bomb going down the expressway. I mean, it seems like there's some very
Whoa. I never saw that story. What?
Jesus Christ, Rick.
Yeah, Rick, where the hell have you been?
Come on, man.
Exactly.
Hold on, wait a minute.
It was a day after he called for a forensic audit.
Wait a minute. First off, 2 points I want to make. Well, I guess 1 point. I'm relatively plugged in, and somehow that story escaped me. So please, for the benefit of our listeners, explain.
Dolph, would you like to explain?
Sure. Okay, so I can't remember the kid's name.
It's the son-in-law of Kemp, right?
Okay, so he's a Kelly staffer. He's a Kelly Loeffler staffer, and he's also dating Brian Kemp's daughter. On the day after Kemp calls for the forensic analysis, he dies in a car accident with 3 other cars, where the other 3 people, the other cars have minor scratches, and his car is incinerated beyond recognition. And people reported hearing the explosion from over a mile away. Now,
it was a car bomb.
It was a car bomb or a direct energy weapon. Whoa! No, it's most likely a car bomb. So, but here's the real kicker. Here's the real kicker. The agent, the Georgia Investigative Bureau agent, like the state version of the FBI, who was looking into it, who was investigating it, killed himself.
Oh, I didn't even hear about that. Holy shit!
Yup. Dude offed himself.
Do you have a link to that?
Yeah, hang on, I'll look it up.
Here, announce
Discuss
it.
amongst yourselves while I do that.
No. Well, once you find it, could you please provide it for the benefit of our listeners at home?
How do I do that?
Just verbally speak it.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought you wanted me to like get him a link somehow.
// www.
001001110.
Hustlermedia.com. I mean, what? Hustler. By the way, Malik, your generation may not know this, but Hustler was a famous magazine that provided pornographic images.
Man, Malik knows. He's been out on the streets, working his corner in the D, man.
He watched People versus Larry Flint on Amazon.
Hell yeah, my brother.
So anyway,
there was an era before there was like this proliferation of like free porn.
Oh yeah.
I'm just saying.
It was not that easy back in the day.
So anyway,
that's like fucking creepy. I mean,
the overall point with Nashville is the story doesn't make sense. There's a whole variety of interests that might be at stake here. The timing's very suspicious. And I think when you compare this to other incidents, there's very limited video footage of the explosion. The weirdo missile in the sky issue. There's a lot to this that's just going to get memory hold here as quick as possible. The gunshots, all that's going to get swept up.
What was the deal with the gunshots?
We have no idea.
I mean,
the media doesn't even bother to explain it.
I mean, what was what's your understanding of the gunshots?
That's what brought the 6 hero cops to the site of the RV. There was a report before the RV showed up. There was a report that there was gunshots located at that corner, that street corner, and so they rushed out there. And then the RV shows up saying 15 minutes until detonation or whatever. Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas.
Well, nice. and then it starts playing downtown.
Santa brought you a present.
Don't forget that it starts playing downtown.
Downtown. Hey, Bill, can you cue the downtown for the post production? Downtown.
Jesus.
All right, the guy's name was James Sullivan. He was a Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and he was investigating the car accident, involving what was the damn kid's name? It's such a
It was like Matt. It was like a generic name.
Yeah, it's like super white kid name.
Matt Jones.
No, it's like something. Anyway, yeah, he's dead. He killed himself.
Was that reported in like a real media thing?
Yeah, and then Lynn Wood was even talking about it the other day.
Yeah, Lynn Wood, our Lord and Savior.
I have a lot of feelings about
Lynn. Yeah, I mean, the guy's been giving me a bunch of hopium for the past month and a half, and I haven't seen any results from that hopium trip.
I've been getting dry jerked by Lynn.
Oh, here's the
kid. I don't know what Lynn knows and what Lynn doesn't know.
The kid's name was Harrison Deal.
That's it.
There you go.
Oh my God, that is a white name.
Yeah, he was dating Kemp's daughter and working for Loeffler.
Wow, that could not be a message or a threat, could it?
No way, not at all.
Never.
Clay, were you able to find the story about the GBI investigator?
Oh yeah, thanks. Let me look here.
I can only find some idiot fact check page that says he didn't kill himself because of the election. He was looking into the election or the Harrison Deal thing, which, like, how do they know?
By the way, one or all of you are invited to write a story about Harrison Deal and the Georgia investigator. This would be a really good story to write. In fact, I would argue that this would be a good 2 stories to write. I'm just saying. Please, somebody do this. Like, I think that there's a lot. Look, what I'm saying is that I think that there's large swaths of people who are not introduced to these concepts, specifically because I'm not introduced to them.
The
So I
GBI
think you
guy
should-
was James O'Sullivan.
Right.
You know, something that I've considered.
How did he die?
He ate his gun, right?
The internet's claiming suicide. I haven't seen the body. I didn't poke his, the
Can I FOIA that?
cavity on his head.
Please do.
Wait, but I mean, like, there's got to be an official story. What's the official story?
Fuck if I know.
Hang on, let's see.
Come on, Egon.
Here we go.
Yeah, he ate his gun, but the entry wound was from the fucking back of his head.
By the way, Bill, you're Egon.
They found him in Fort Marcy Park.
What?
They found him in Fort Marcy Park.
I don't know what that means.
That's where they found Vince Foster. Bump. Anyway.
Are you serious?
Yes. They didn't find him there. It was a joke.
Oh.
That's where they found Vince Foster, though.
You fucking asshole.
Hey, man. If you can't... I mean, that's even a running joke on Rush. You should know that, at least, for God's sakes.
Rush? Who watches Rush?
Dude.
Nobody! They listen to him, you fuck!
No, anytime somebody screws up in Washington, he always says, "Oh, stay away from Fort Marcy Park." Anyway, Georgia Bureau of Investigation's Twitter feed. A GBI agent has passed away this week, and there are online rumors that it was somehow connected to the election. This is baseless claim, irresponsible, and reckless. The GBI agent passed away this week. Oh, same one. It is hurtful to the agent's family and coworkers. Please be careful of the things you write. Repeat.
Well, how did he fight it?
If only we had an investigative journalist that could go and meet this guy's family.
I know. If only there was some, hyper aggressive son of a bitch that would just go there and like fucking stalk their house until they fucking commented. God.
Yes, we should find someone to stalk a grieving family.
Hint.
Let's see. This does not
By the way,
say.
grain alcohol is great.
So it looks like he probably committed suicide, in that he is a GBI special agent who's like basically a crime scene investigator. So, I mean, the dots line up here. Whether he was investigating that case or not is kind of the big question here that can't be answered.
Well, our authority figures say he wasn't, so I believe that blindly. So move on.
Which also brings up, I mean, just kind of by comparison here, not to go too far down the rabbit hole, Seth Rich, right? I mean, the family always said, "Oh, it's harmful to look into these conspiracy theories," and it's like,
yeah,
clearly,
fuck those assholes.
Well, it's like, clearly your son was killed by somebody. And
yeah, they say it on screen live on CNN, and they're like looking in the corner away from the camera, staring at something that's being pointed at them.
Well, those people are, from what I understand, they have another son who was also involved, and they're probably very scared. The brother was involved as well. Both were. Both were. It's like confirmed by their computer, but at least by. Shit, I don't want to say the wrong thing. There's a clip. Lou Dobbs even reported it back in the day that they have some kind of forensic computer evidence that Seth Rich and the brother were in contact with WikiLeaks.
I
Um,
vaguely recall that.
wasn't there a dump like 2 weeks ago where they talked about Seth Rich and how he was murdered?
I don't know if the Seth Rich stuff was in the WikiLeaks dump from a couple weeks ago. People were saying that it was everything, and then that WikiLeaks had, but then apparently it was like a yearly thing that they do, and that they drop everything from the previous year or something. And apparently everything wasn't in it, but there was a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah,
And
like they said that. Well, it looks like the Gateway Pundit reported that after 4 years of stonewalling, the FBI finally admits that they're holding Seth Rich's laptop.
right. Yeah, they definitely admitted that they have his
Oh, that-
laptop.
Yeah, that was Ty Clevenger.
And then there's text traffic between Lisa Page and what's the evil guy's name?
Peter Strzok.
Yeah, Peter Strzok. That they were
The lovers.
that they were talking about the Seth Rich case.
You know that she pegged him. She pegged him repeatedly.
The love affair is just their cover story. You know that, right?
Oh.
No. Inform us.
So
look at her.
When the text messages came out, their response about why they were, these two individuals involved in, basically deep state operations were.
Is Page really a man?
God, shut up.
Attention span of a fucking squirrel.
Yeah, is their cover story was, we weren't discussing the Hillary case. We were having an affair, and we used Hillary and Hillary's election as a way of discussing our affair around our spouses.
It's pretty thin.
Right, but that was their explanation, which is, clear bullshit. But that's the way that they got out of prosecution for compromising these investigations.
Maybe that's why Trump always points out that they were lovers.
Right.
Yeah, the two lovers.
Right. But I mean, Lisa Page is hideously ugly.
Yeah, and Strzok looks like he might have a vagina.
Right.
So
might.
Well, I mean, hey, whatever's going on, that's up to him.
Sure.
Not my problem.
You're very progressive.
Yes.
But
very progressive.
One way that people try to poke holes in these conspiracy theories is they say, well, the family doesn't even agree with you, right? Like the people closest to these people don't even agree with you. Clearly your theory is bullshit. It's like, well, these families are obviously under a lot of duress, right? I mean, these families are under enormous pressure. I didn't know about Seth Rich's brother, but that finally makes a little bit of sense there. Another analogy that I would use by example here is the Kopechne family after Ted Kennedy, drowned Mary Jo Kopechne in the bay at Chappaquiddick. They were paid off, but then they were also threatened, right? And that kept them silent, the parents, their entire lives. Even though I think everybody acknowledges that Ted Kennedy killed that woman, now.
Hilariously, even aspects of the left acknowledge that, which is funny.
Right.
And that reminds me of Dick Cheney shooting, Harry Whittington, and then having Harry Whittington come out and say, "I'm sorry, I wasn't shot by Dick Cheney. I shot myself," pretty much, or the equivalent of, right?
Yeah.
It's just the pressure that they're going to put on you.
Right.
Or it's like what they did with, Oswald's wife, They put you in a room for a couple of weeks, polish you up, buy you a new dress, and send you out there to repeat the lines,
Right. Hey, we're going to deport you if you don't say the right words.
Exactly. No, but with the Seth Rich thing, I mean, the Russian, I mean, this is, people know this, but the Russian hacking thing is provably false just by the data transfer speeds of the files. All that shit's encoded, and it could not have been hacked overseas with the transfer speeds that they were transferred. It's impossible. Somebody had to do it. The nerds are telling us that somebody had to do it with a flash drive at a terminal.
Not just the nerds. I mean, it's Bill Binney and his crew.
Right. Well, yeah, and then so supposedly
Bill
they
Benny-
did a handoff outside of American University in a wooded area.
Ew.
Well, I mean, like, the only reason I mentioned Bill Benny is that Bill Benny is not nobody, right? I
Right.
mean,
Who the fuck is Bill Benny?
Wait, time out. Forget that. Well, did you guys hear anything about his house burning down last night or the night before?
what?
Dude, I don't know. Hang on. I saw something, but I didn't hear a
Wait,
news report. I saw a
Where do you
random
get
thing.
this news? Like, is
saw-
Q dropping you all this shit constantly?
No, there's only been 4,500 Q drops, a little bit more. Q doesn't drop that often, actually. This is this was just a random tweet I saw. I can't confirm nor deny. You guys brought him up, and I saw it today. So I don't know. Could be bullshit. You'd think it would make bigger news, or that he would tweet or something about it. Probably bullshit, but
I think maybe he left his coffee maker on.
hang on. Let me check Twitter here. Well, don't wait for me. Somebody talk.
So, I mean, I'll just kind of wrap up kind of with Nashville here. That what are we ever going to find out what really happened? And of course,
Never.
unfortunately, the answer is no.
Okay, time out. Is Bill Benny? Is he verified on Twitter? No way, right?
Probably.
So I've got a Bill _Benny, that quote tweeted, "This is true," to a tweet that says from an account called Joint Investigation. Meanwhile, please help stop the live running genocide being conducted by the U.S. Air Force. They are droning the house of Bill Benny. He just survived an attack. I'm just reading a tweet from. I have no idea. Okay, I cannot validate any of this shit. Okay. He just survived an assassination attempt where a direct energy weapon shot holes into the ceiling above him. This is serious. Please help. And this was quote tweeted by Bill _Benny with the words, "This is true." I don't know if that's Bill Benny's account.
Okay, so Bill Benny is formerly with the NSA. He is an NSA whistleblower. Right.
Correct.
So the Death Star is Death Starring his house right now.
Basically.
Damn.
What the
I'm looking at the Twitter. It says it could be a fake Twitter, but it's his former NSA tech director. He's not verified. This account's not verified.
What the fuck is a direct energy weapon? That still is.
Just think of a laser beam, dude. It's like a big, powerful laser beam that'll fuck your shit up, and they can shoot it from satellites and stuff.
So it's like GoldenEye. It's like GoldenEye.
Did they do that in GoldenEye? Did they shoot satellite beams from satellites?
You were alive in the 90s, you fuck.
I was not a Nintendo kid.
See reflections on the water, more than darkness in the depths. See him surface in every shadow. On the wind I feel his breath. Golden eye, I found his weakness. Golden eye, he'll do whatever.
GoldenEye is a goddamn Bond film. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I'm aware, but GoldenEye wasn't in the 90s, though. Was it?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Bond movie.
Oh God. Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah, so there's
wasn't
an
big on
entire
the Bond.
Wikipedia page on this.
It used to be beautiful.
But imagine a direct energy weapon.
Malik, you didn't catch that reference, did you, you fuck?
What the fuck happened to you, man? Your ass used to be beautiful.
No, I'm like, you guys are old as fuck.
God.
You got like 30 years on me.
Oh.
So
only 20.
Whatever you say.
Well, closer to 25, but
Rick, okay, basically, you know how when you were in kindergarten and you had a magnifying glass and you would like kill ants and light them on fire?
I'd kill other children and light them on fire. But I mean, yes, whatever.
That's not
Okay,
true.
so now imagine that with something that's much more powerful than that
You're right.
magnifying
Like I
glass.
said, so you're talking about Goldeneye.
I am invincible! Yes! I am invincible!
That's Goldeneye.
Goldeneye was
then
before
we're
my
talking about
time.
Goldeneye.
Okay, that's like 10 years before my
Right.
time.
If that helps you, yes, we're talking about Goldeneye.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's how ridiculous this is.
Is it?
But it's not ridiculous. It's real. They were using them in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I mean,
What?
how
do you know that?
it would be ridiculous if we
I'm
weren't
not even
doing it.
joking. Like, you can go, I'm reading right now from the Wikipedia page. During the Iraq War, electromagnetic weapons, including high-power microwaves, were used by the U.S. military to disrupt and destroy Iraqi electronic systems and bases, and also to be used as crowd control. So another perfect example is those riot control things where they basically send resonant frequencies out and microwaves into a crowd, and it causes your blood to boil, and
Well,
it
no,
causes
that's like an
the crowd
LRAD.
to disperse. Yeah, that's something similar to a direct energy weapon. You're just, instead of waves, you're using different types of focused microwaves and particle beams.
Microwaves are waves.
Yes, they're just very small and high frequencies.
So you're saying
Small in the sense that they have a smaller amplitude and they're faster. They occur more frequently.
Hey, Rick. Have you ever seen those aerial photos of the fires out in San Francisco, where the cars and the houses are burned, but the trees aren't around them?
Yeah.
How does a forest fire spread if it doesn't burn the forest?
No, Dolph's onto something here. I've seen the footage where they claim that something like this happens.
Yeah, and the fire map conveniently lines up with the proposed high-speed rail map. What do you know?
Right.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, what?
So the fires last year in California, the theories are that they were caused by direct energy weapons. And if you look at the map of the fires up and down, the area that they were in, and you overlay the map of the proposed high-speed rail, and they kind of line up almost perfectly.
And over half of the cost, by the way, for light rail is eminent domain and litigating eminent domain. So it's a $10 billion question in order to get those things at a quote fire sale.
Ha!
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Light rail's kind of cool.
Fuck you, light rail shit.
Go
I'm like
eat
a
it.
hipster. I'm a hipster.
I want some Elon Musk Hyperloop shit.
Exactly. I want to be able to go to down
Except that it's like a
in 2
fucking
hours.
$50 or $100 billion proposition. Like, it's not fucking feasible.
Eat shit. You boomers already racked up our debt to $30 trillion, so who cares?
Like, well, I'm saying, like, with the tectonic disruption, like, you're gonna fucking it's gonna be destroyed anyway.
Eat shit.
There's no way. There's no way that's gonna work. There's no way.
TLDR, light rail doesn't make any economic sense for any major city except for New York. Just bar none.
Or DC.
No, it doesn't make sense in DC either.
No, but it makes sense because it's the capital. That's why.
But who cares about money?
Yeah,
like, we already have so much
prefer a
debt.
car in DC to the metro.
Because you can use the light rail system as a bomb shelter.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
If you don't care about costs,
there's a plus.
Oh my god, it's just people who don't know what we're talking about.
No, I'm just joking with you guys.
I'm not saying that it makes economic sense. I'm saying for the capital it makes sense for different reasons, but for every other city, even for New York, it doesn't make sense. Even New York can't make it economically feasible. That's how bad of an idea it is.
Yes, that's true. But anyway, all right, we're coming up on an hour. I think we pretty well covered Nashville. The only last thing that came to mind is if you watch the overhead the overhead shot, you'll see a tree that doesn't line up with the RV blast. The trees are blasted everywhere else, but there's one surviving tree like right next to the RV, which is really conspicuous. So, if there's a chance for the directed energy weapon to be accurate, then there is some evidence for that, which is kind of interesting.
Also, if you look at the surveillance video, it's hard to tell where the explosion actually emanated from. But if you slow it down, it actually looks like it comes from the other side of the street that the RV was parked on.
Right.
So, I mean, that's not weird at all.
Right.
Yes, Rick.
Oh my gosh, that's all I have to say.
Also, I'd like to point out that
my
I'm the
gosh.
oldest person here, and I'm Gen X, so you can stop with the boomer shit, kiddo.
Whatever. I mean, that's coming from the guy that couldn't figure out how to fucking click on the link of an email. So,
well, it helps to actually send the right email. It helps to send the actual. It helps to send the right email, though.
Yeah, eat shit, Rick.
Yeah, well.
Penis!
All right, then.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up for now. Thank you for listening to Crime Think. Your degenerate piece of shit host, Rick Smith, is pleasuring himself.
Hey, Rick, how does that penis feel coming out of your mouth?
Thank you to our guests, Malik Shabazz and Dolph. Be sure to tune in next quarter when we have our next episode. And thank you.
And a new host.
Your problem is you're not drinking enough. That's your problem.
You interrupted me. I was about to start.
When you're alone and life is making you lonely, you can always go downtown. When you've got worries, all the noise and the hurry seems to help, I know. Downtown, just listen to the music, not the traffic in the city. Linger on the sidewalk where the neon signs are pretty. How can you lose? The lights are much brighter there. You can't forget all your troubles, forget all your cares. So go downtown. Things will be great when you're downtown. No finer place for sure. Downtown, everything's waiting for you. Downtown. Don't hang around and let your problems surround you. There are movie shows downtown. Maybe you know some little places to go.